charisma. Everyone wants charisma. Not because we all dream of becoming some kind of social demigod in a blazer, mostly because it is just useful if people actually listen when you speak. If you walk into a room and do not immediately dissolve into the furniture, if you say something in a meeting and it does not sound like you accidentally leaked an internal thought. So yes, charisma has appeal, and wherever there is appeal, a coach eventually appears. So now we have workshops, masterclasses, online programs, videos called things like How to Become Magnetic in 5 Easy Steps, as if charisma were a kitchen appliance, as if you could simply unbox it, plug it in, and from tomorrow onward be socially compelling at 180 degrees. And to be fair, some of the advice is not even wrong. Make eye contact, slow down, stand up straight, use pauses, be present, project warmth, project confidence. And then, usually, the most beautiful advice of all, be authentic, which is always a lovely moment, because now we are no longer just trying to seem confident, now we are also trying to seem real. So the modern person is asked to do something quite ambitious. Be impressive, but not try hard. Be confident, but not rehearsed. Be natural, but on purpose. And that is where things begin to wobble. Because the moment charisma becomes something you consciously perform, it often starts to lose the very quality you were hoping to create. You do not necessarily become more compelling. You become more visibly busy. Busy with your posture, busy with your voice, busy with your pauses, busy with your gaze, busy with that carefully measured calm that is supposed to signal presence. And then there you are, trying very hard to appear effortless, which sadly is not effortless. That is the problem with charisma as a project. At a certain point, people can see the machinery. And people are surprisingly good at sensing the difference between someone who is genuinely calm and someone performing calmness, between someone who is truly listening and someone listening in the exact way a communication coach once recommended, between someone who feels natural and someone who paid a considerable amount of money to learn how to appear natural. And authenticity has the same problem. The moment authenticity becomes something you try to project, it starts turning into a performance of honesty, a managed version of being real, a curated spontaneity, a carefully shaped, this is just me, which is a very modern tragedy. Even sincerity now needs technique. Now, to be clear, form does matter. If you mumble, avoid eye contact, rush your words, and carry yourself like you're, apologizing for having even shown up, that will affect how people experience you. Of course it will. How you speak, move, and hold attention really does matter. So no, all these coaches are not completely wrong. But they often stay at the surface of the problem. They treat charisma as a collection of behaviors, a set of visible moves, a bit of posture, some vocal control, a little storytelling, strategic warmth, and a touch of carefully timed vulnerability. Flat-pack charisma, easy to assemble, slightly artificial once standing. Because most people do not really want charisma in the deepest sense. What they want is something underneath it. They want to feel less awkward, less invisible, less uncertain, less easily diminished in a room full of other people. They do not really want to become magnetic. They want to feel steadier, freer, less trapped in self-consciousness. And that is a different problem, because if someone is still deeply preoccupied with how they are coming across, people usually feel that anyway, even if the posture is good, even if the voice is lower, even if the pauses are excellent, even if the authenticity has been very thoughtfully arranged. At that point, charisma becomes less like presence and more like self-management, image control with breathing techniques. And maybe that is why real charisma is so difficult to copy. The people who genuinely have presence are often not the people working hardest on presence. They are usually absorbed in something else, the conversation, the subject, the other person, what they actually want to say. They are not standing outside themselves, monitoring their own effect in real time. They are not constantly checking whether they seem grounded, warm, confident, or authentic enough. and because they are less occupied with the impression they are making. The impression is often stronger. You see this in real life all the time. Some people do not have the perfect voice, or perfect posture, or that polished executive presence people like to talk about as if it were a measurable mineral, but they do have something else: attention, ease, sincerity, a kind of inner room. They are not fighting for their own legitimacy while speaking to you. They are not asking for approval with every sentence, and that feels powerful. So maybe that is the irony of charisma. The more deliberately you try to create it, the greater the chance that people will mainly notice the effort. And once they notice the effort, some of the magic disappears. Not because technique is always bad. Technique can help. It can stop you from getting in your own way. But real presence rarely feels like technique, and real authenticity rarely feels advertised. So yes, learn to speak better. Look people in the eye. Do not rush every sentence as if someone might confiscate your words halfway through. All of that is fine, but the better question is probably not, how do I become more charismatic? The better question might be, how do I become less occupied with myself when I am with other people? Because a lot of charisma, in the end, seems to be this: not working so hard on your presence that your personality starts to look employed by it.